Good morning. It's Gina B here with Embracing Imperfect, and I hope a couple of you will show up for this. So today I wanted to say a few words about the case of Charlie Gard, and I also kind of want to talk a little bit about medical stuff that's going on in the medical community. And as you know, today is also supposed to be the vote in the, I want to say Senate. I'm sorry, long morning. About the healthcare bill, about Trump's healthcare bill. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Good to see you here. But I know it's going to be a little bit of a serious note about what we're talking about today, so bear with me. I would rather do something fun and joyous like a smoothie bowl, but I think it's really important that we talk about this stuff. So I'm going to say a little bit about Charlie Gard, and in case you don't know the story, I'm sure you do, but anyway, Charlie Gard is a little boy in the UK who has a debilitating degenerative disease, and I'm not actually sure that whether he was born with it, but I think he was. Hi, Kathleen. How you doing? Welcome. So his parents have been fighting since at least January to get him released from the hospital he's in. Now, the hospital he's in January, looked at his brain scans and said, this boy is brain dead. We want to take him off the machines. And his parents said, no, we want to go look and investigate further and try all kinds of solutions. And the hospital said, no, we're not releasing him. So this is stunning to me. I mean, it's their child, but they are not allowed to release him. So this thing has been in the courts for months now. And the courts in Britain keep saying, you need to take the baby off life support. We don't want to support this child anymore. So what came out yesterday was that the mother of Charlie Gard came out. He got it 6 months after birth, I heard. Okay, all right. I know he was very little when he got it, so I wasn't sure. But he was diagnosed 6 months after birth. Okay, thank you for that, Kathleen. So the mother came out yesterday and essentially said they're giving up the fight, the parents. And the parents have been through all kinds of hell. They have been furious. They have been running out of the courtroom saying it's all lies and all this stuff. So yesterday, the mother came out and she said, I'm sorry, I don't have her name in front of me. She came out and said what happened was in January, it is a degenerative disease, but in January, he was at a level that if they had been allowed to remove him to a hospital and put him in some of this more cutting edge care, that he could have been helped. But now at this point, he's degenerated so far that he actually can't be helped anymore. And the doctor in New York, in America, I'm not sure if it was New York, said initially that he could help him, but that was based on January scans, and that now he didn't think he could really help him anymore, that he had gone too far. This is the story as I understand it. And another thing I had read, so I've been reading a lot about this, reading a lot about comments on this, back and forth. A lot of stuff is going on. I subscribe to a parental choice organization that fights for parental choice across the nation. And they actually were talking about I forget the name of it, Zanga poll that was done in 2010 that said Democrats, Republicans, and independents, people of all three parties, in a situation like this would support the parents, that the parents should be the ones to make the choice, and not the courts, and not the government. Okay, so this is what I wanted to make clear here, is that I had a little debate with somebody about this a week or two ago about it's not in the government's hands. It's not the government's making the decision. Well, the government is making the decision because the courts are really a part of the government. And if the courts are making the decision, then the government is making the decision. But it's more than that, because we live in America. And in America, I feel like the government is heavily run by pharma. Not just lobbied, but run. I feel like when you look at places like the CDC and the FDA, they are so, no one can hurt pharma. They want to take down essential oils. They want to take down holistic health. They want to take down homeopathy. But pharma can't touch them. And that's why we have a vaccine court, a tribunal, that if you're vaccine injured, you don't get to sue anyone. You have to go to that court. And if you say your child got autism from a vaccine, you will lose. But if you say they have autistic symptoms after the vaccine, that's okay. I don't want to get into the vaccine thing. If you want to learn more about that particular case, look up Hannah Poling. That's Hannah with 2 N's, Poling with 1 L, and look at the results of her case. Millions of dollars this girl was granted from getting autism from a vaccine. But it was just paraphrased. It was just phrased the right way. But that's another issue. But I think one of the big problems in this country is our medical system and our government. Our government is hand in hand with our medical system. To an extent, this is, I think, true of the GMO, the biotech food industry as well. But I think with pharmaceutical companies, it's far more pervasive. Watch any TV show, especially any news show, and you will see commercial after commercial for drugs. That's all the commercials are. Drugs, 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 drugs. Vaccines, 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 vaccines. So that is what's funding, and that is what is putting our news on air. So the news is not, the news is slanted and corrupted by this too. In fact, journalists who speak out against vaccines or the pharma companies or even GMOs are usually banned and have to quit their jobs and have to go elsewhere. So this is a huge problem in our health system. Okay, so back to Charlie Gard. So essentially what happened was, when I'm looking at it, the hospital looked at this baby in January. They said he had brain damage. Another doctor looked at that same scan and said, no, he doesn't have that much. He's not brain dead. So it looks like the hospital either lied or made a mistake, right? But hospitals, and this goes to my bigger point, hospitals and doctors and nurses cannot admit a mistake. So what would happen to the hospitals, called GOSH for short, what would happen to GOSH if they went, oh, you're right, we did make a mistake, go ahead, send him to the United States. Doesn't look very good for them, does it? There they were, they're supposed to be a hospital that helps children, and they made a mistake. They called the baby being brain dead for whatever reason. Maybe there was a financial issue, maybe they wanted the bed, because hello, I've been there. We need the bed, get this one out of here. Do hospitals, does the medical profession value life anymore? I mean, and this is the key issue, right? The key issue is not how much life can he have. Great Ormond Street Hospital, thank you. Yeah, GOSH for sure, Great Ormond Street Hospital. Thank you, Kathleen, for reminding me of the name. But this is the thing. Does life have value, right? Now, we've come up with this thing that die with dignity, and that a life doesn't have value based on some criteria that I don't understand, that somebody along the way made somewhere. So I was reading some article yesterday about a mom who wanted to give up her babies because they had Down syndrome and then decided to keep them. And it said, you know, this is really offensive to me. And I was told this when I was pregnant with my second child, that if you have a diagnosis of your baby having Down syndrome, they can abort them for medical reasons, right? Now, I'm not saying that Down syndrome doesn't come with a high probability, but not a definite certainty, but a high probability of certain medical conditions, such as heart issues. My daughter has a VSD, a hole in her heart, high chance of leukemia, high chance of thyroid issues. Yes, I'm not saying that they don't have a greater chance of that happening. what I'm saying is, when you say Down syndrome is a medical issue, she's not going to die from having Down syndrome. And so it's really offensive to me. Like, you're saying, like, she can't, what is your standard? Her intellectual ability. Really? Seriously? That is the only value a person has, that they can get straight A's in school? And I'm going to be honest with you now. I was raised with this lie. Not that my parents gave it to me, but I mean all around me, I was raised that intellectual ability is kind of an apex of humanity. And when I heard that my daughter had Down syndrome, I really struggled with it a lot, because I knew that most likely she would be intellectually disabled, and she is. And it was a struggle so much for me, because that was so much put on a pedestal all my life, that your worth is all about how smart you are, right? So I'm getting back to this issue. I know I've gone off a little bit, but I meant to go off a little bit. And the reason I meant to go off a little bit is because when governments and drug companies and hospitals and doctors and nursing staff look at your value in terms of one or two things, then we're devaluing everyone else. We're saying every person with a disability, if you're not perfectly made when you're born, maybe you shouldn't live. If you're intellectually, your IQ is 70, maybe you shouldn't live. If you can't walk, can't see, can't walk or see, why bother, right? Yep, being smart, being productive, can't give anyone for just being created in their presence. That's right, yeah. I'm a Christian, so I believe all people are made with a purpose. But even before I was, when I had my child, I'm telling you, that girl had a purpose. The joy she brought me in my life. I'm going to get choked up. But, I mean, it goes beyond Charlie Gard. It goes into that hospital going, you know what, his brain doesn't look that great, and he's got this illness. We're not even really going to try, because what's the point? How is that their call? How is that their call? And how I feel like I'm hearing this everywhere. Everywhere. We were talking about dying with dignity and, you know, right to choice and all this stuff that has to do with death. And we're starting to devalue life in all its forms. And we're going, right, exactly, Kathleen. We're going, you know what? This person isn't good enough. Or this person is going to be on the social economic system and we can't afford the burden. That's a whole different argument. But I learned last week in an IEP that my particular state, Pennsylvania, is actually working towards getting all disabled people employed, and they are doing everything and creating all these programs to get them to work. And I'm all for that. I have no intention of having my kids just live with disability. I think they can work. I know they can work. And whatever that takes, we're going to get them there. That child doesn't even know what dignity is. You're right. How does Charlie Gard know what's good for him? The doctors, the mother and the father came out and said that, you know, he's opens his eyes, he smiles, he responds. He doesn't look to us like he's in pain. You can say he's in pain, but he's not giving any of the signals of pain. So is he even in pain? Who's to judge? And I feel like another issue that is hugely on my mind about this, again, something I'm reading, is the arrogance, the absolute arrogance of the medical community. Now, this is no offense to doctors and nurses and surgeons whose heart are in the right place. I have been there. I have been the worst of the worst. And most of them, unfortunately, of the crappy doctors were gynecologists. Hate to tell you, it's a horrible industry. Most of the really good doctors, my OB was amazing. Traditional Western medicine. I did a lot of medication. She didn't care if I breastfed or not. I mean, right. But I feel like she saved my life. My neurologist, when I had my stroke, and you can watch my stroke video up here too. he called my healing a miracle, but he helped me. My physical therapist, Pat, I think his name was, he was amazing. These were amazing doctors because they cared. They went home and they thought about you. They went home and they pulled out cutting edge research to help you, to make you better. And you could feel it coming off them. They didn't go to medical school so that they could get a high paycheck. A perinatologist, obstetrician, do you know how much they pay in health insurance? They have to protect themselves against the baby dying and the mother dying. They're hard to find. But I had a great one. And I had a great one because that she wasn't even, she made money, trust me. I saw, she told me where she went on vacations with her family. So I knew she had a lot of money, but she also paid a lot of money in insurance and she cared. She really cared about me. She cared about my baby. And I think we've lost that. We've lost that. We've got doctors, you go to the doctor, you see the actual doctor for 2 to 5 minutes. The last time I went for a gynecologist visit, I saw that woman for 5 minutes and she spent 4 minutes and 45 seconds trying to sell me crap. And so I just stopped going. I'm like, why? What? You're not even asking me if I feel okay. You're totally distracted while you're examining me. You don't even care. You're just trying to push product on me. And that's what I think has happened to our medical industry here in the Western world, here and in London. It's how much money can we make? Can we put someone else in that bed who'll make us more money? I'm sorry, that's what I honestly believe it is. It's sickening to me. Because the medical community is supposed to help you. They're supposed to be people who help you get better. But they don't. Ultimately, they're helping the pharma companies. They're helping themselves. They're getting people on medication. Someone very dear to me was put on extremely heavy SSRIs, without being told the side effects, that we might have to change it, that once you're on this, you can't go off. How is that responsible? How is that responsible? It's not. It's just not. And when we tell people, you know what, become a doctor because you'll make a lot of money. And then they go into medical school. They're 7 years in medical school. They're sleep deprived the entire time. They're taught, from what I've read. Now, anyone is a doctor and can correct me, please do. I really don't want this to be true. But that they're just, here's the cure, here's the cure, here's the cure, here's what you prescribe, here's what you prescribe. And that, another thing I wanted to say is, you know, we're in a generation where the last 10 to 20 years, we've been raised on shows like ER and House. And those are doctors, actor doctors, that really care, and they do everything they possibly can to figure out what's wrong, whether it be for purposes of ego, like in House, or for because they really want the patient to get better and to live a longer, better life. And then we've put doctors on this pedestal, right? We have these TV shows with pretty people like George Clooney and Noah Wyle, and we're like, oh yeah, like, you know, they're so great. And then we try to humanize them with House, but still he's back to this, an intellectual giant, because that's the other thing. So we worship intellect and we worship the medical profession. And, you know, well, they can't make mistakes because they're not in it for the money. They're in it for the care. And then you go to your doctor and you see him for 2 to 5 minutes, and that whole time he's prescribing you some crap without even asking you, not even looking to see, do you have gut issues? Do you have health issues? Is something here? Do you have eczema? Should you be putting you on this thing? Are you going to have a reaction? They don't even really do that. And to be frank, I have been on medication. I'm on Coumadin and thyroid medication. You know who actually were the person who were like, maybe you shouldn't miss this and this? Pharmacists. I trust pharmacists more than I trust doctors, because my husband would go in there and get stuff for me after I had my stroke, and they would be like, well, wait a minute, you can't do this and you can't do this. I don't know why your doctor prescribed you this, but you can't have these two things at the same time. A pharmacist. And the doctors are not really paying as much attention because you're only in there a few minutes. Yep, Hippocratic oath, totally not used. You're right. No one is thinking. Now, again, like I said, I had Dr. Leifer and Dr. Brusman. They were wonderful doctors. I believe they helped save my life. I believe Dr. B helped save my baby. I believe that. There are good people. There are good doctors. But I think a lot of doctors, they get through that 7-year sleep deprived where they can be fed any kind of propaganda whatsoever, and they come out and they've got all these bills and all this burden and licensing and insurance, and it's a lot of pressure on them. And I'm not saying it's not, that if you go into it honestly, I think I have a friend whose sister was a dentist, and it was really hard for her. She really didn't understand what was involved, and then she got into practice and they did something unethical, and she was like, now I'm going to lose my job because I have ethics, right? So it's very difficult, and I give applause and kudos to the ones who get through it with their heart and soul intact, and have to try to figure out how to make up for those huge school loan bills coming in. But I think we need to, thanks Sherry's, I'm glad you agree with me. I think we need to be really careful. I am currently looking for a doctor who will manage my medications and will say to me, sure, you can take vitamin D, but this is how you should take. My doctor's like, you can use vitamin D. Oh, okay, so which one she didn't even tell me to take D3, which I already know. Just any popular brand. And then a friend of mine said, you shouldn't be taking D without taking this other thing. And I'm like, oh, for Pete's sake. Like, she's putting herself out there as a DO, and she's not even giving me all the information. She's just like, go ahead, don't take supplements, but go take some vitamin D and a probiotic. Go ahead, anything, I don't care. Doesn't care. Oh, and don't eat too many leafy greens because you're on Coumadin. I don't care. And I'm having a hard time getting into a doctor that's a true DO, the waiting list is long. The waiting list is long because people throw in DO at the end of their name, and they're not even really doing the DO part. They're just a traditional MD, and they've put the DO, and then they realize, you know what, I make some good money off this vaccine, pushing these vaccines and pushing these medications, and your gynecologist is like, how about Mirena and Assure? That's perfect for you. Meanwhile, there's all these people with all these problems from Assure. And we're not getting the full story. And I've had other people there, but I don't think we're getting the full story, honestly, on Charlie Gard. I don't know what's going to happen there. And they take him off the machines. He might not die. He could die. I don't know if something else is going on there. I feel really bad for the parents, because in the parents' eyes, you could have saved my baby. And here's the thing, being in the community that I'm in, I can't even tell you how many parents are devastated, have lost their children to medical mistakes. By the way, medical malpractice, huge killer, huge killer. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but it's a high cause of death in the United States, medical error. And that's not even vaccine injury, because that doesn't exist, right? But I can't even tell you how many parents I know who, if I could just go back and not have given her that shot, not have given her that medicine, not have given her that procedure, hundreds of them, they lost their child in a way they cannot get them back. And so when you tell me that Charlie Gard's parents should not make the decision because he's already dead and it's too late and that ship has sailed, I am against that with all my heart and soul. It is the parents' duty to make those decisions. And when you die as a Christian and you stand before God, you have to answer to him for your child. As if your child's still underage when you die, right? You have to answer for that. And I feel like at least these people can say we did everything we could do. And I think I'm going to leave it there today. I could go on a whole lot, but as I was thinking about this, it occurred to me yesterday. I was thinking about my daughter, Zoe. So if you know, I have two daughters. I have a daughter with Down syndrome. She's 14. I have a daughter with autism who is 11. And my 14-year-old is happy, easygoing, resilient. Everything floats off her back. They both went to the same school for many years. And Amelia, hands down, since preschool, teacher favorite. Hands down. Always a teacher favorite. Zoe, my autistic child, who doesn't speak that much, can't speak conversationally, can speak a little bit, but not really, has a lot of traditional autistic issues. Stimming, she makes a loud noise when she's very happy that we've gotten flack on, which makes me want to just smack someone because she's happy. And she never been a favorite of any teacher. Any teacher. She's had aides who adore her. But the teachers, not a favorite. Because they can't get past. In fact, the teachers that she's been best with are teachers who have experience with autistic kids and can see that she is not really intellectually disabled. She has a hard time with certain types of language, certain types of communication, certain socializations, but she's smart. She's really smart. And they always come to me in meetings and go, oh, she's smart. Well, yeah, just because you can't talk doesn't mean you're not smart. Like, it makes me crazy. But I can see one teacher that I was never really fond of, and then we had an inclusion expert, and he said to me, she didn't want her in her class. She didn't want to include her. She couldn't stand that, essentially saying she couldn't stand that she was in the class. Oh, thank you for sharing that, Charisse. Yeah, I know. It's amazing. And like, you know what? She does struggle. She's just going through puberty now. So we're having a hard time with things coming back. A lot of aggression, a lot of frustration, a lot of self-injury. But, I know her in 11 years. Her heart, she's a good heart. She's a kind, loving person. Let me tell you what she is. She's a loyal friend. She has a few friends that she just adores. She is a good kid. And if you can't see that because you're not aware that aggression is part of autism for some kids and self-injury is part of autism, then you're doing the same thing that this hospital did with Charlie Gard. You're not seeing the value of every person put before you. And that's embarrassing. If you're a teacher or if you're in the medical profession, that's shameful. That should be your job. You should look at these children, these babies, and go, you know what? This is a valuable life. And this person was put here for a reason, and I'm going to do everything I can to save them, to help them, to facilitate them. And that's it. That's what my mission is. I want to help moms and other people, parents, caregivers. I want to help them help their kids and help the people who are in place to help our kids, our doctors, our nurses, our teachers, our aides, our support staff who don't know what the heck they're doing. You know what? It's okay if you don't know what you're doing. We can tell you what to do. We know what to do. We've lived with these beautiful children since they were born. We know what to do, and we can help you do it better. Open your ears and listen to us. Hi, Holly. I'm so sorry about that. I'm so sorry about that. That sucks. You should not be homeschooling because of a teacher. But you know what? I know kids who were bullied in our old school. My daughters were not bullied. Like I said, my first daughter was loved everywhere she goes. She's a ray of sunshine. Everybody loves her. She just has that kind of personality. Zoe, you have to get to know her. You have to build a relationship with her. And if you can't be bothered to do that, but you can do it for the other 25 kids in your class, then really, what are you doing teaching? Why are you excluding one? Why are you ostracizing? Yeah, Kathleen, teacher bullying goes on. It definitely goes on. So does administrative bullying of children. School nurses bullying. We had it all in my own school, all of it. I didn't have it. It didn't happen to me. It did not happen to me, so I'm only speaking my second party. But yeah, it sucks. It's unbelievable and it's unconscionable. But when you think of, it's just a job, I'm just a teacher to make, you know, there are people who go into teaching because it's just the easiest thing, or they're good at math, but they don't want to become a mathematician, so I'll be a teacher, or something like that. Plenty of teachers, plenty of support, special ed staff. Hi, Jennifer. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Support staff. I got to tell you how much support staff we had. Special ed support staff or special ed administrative staff who just didn't give a crap about kids with special ed needs. Like, why are you in that job? Why are you in that job? How many aides one time I had an aide who was a therapist coming to the house, and then another aide came to the house and they knew each other, and they spent the entire time in my house sitting at the table chit-chatting when they were supposed to be caretaking and doing therapy with my child. And they sat there for like an hour chit-chatting. And then I called the next day and I was like, don't send them back, send me someone else, because they don't care about my kid. They're here complaining about their jobs and their petty stuff. You know, don't come in my house and talk about your salary or your lack of perks or what you're doing Saturday night. You're here to work. I fired childcare provider for that one time, and she called CPS on me. So that's typical when you have a kid with special needs, that people call CPS on you because spite, I don't know. But you get used to it at the time, and those are people who, they don't care. They don't care about the children who are put in their care. And Great Ormond Street Hospital doesn't seem like they really care about Charlie Gard. And we need to start caring, because people, I'm telling you, an explosion is coming. Disabilities in children with disabilities or medical issues are like 50% of kids. Autism going up every year. Don't tell me it's not, because I know. I could see how many kids on my block have autism, as opposed to when I first bought a house 14 years ago, and there was no one on the block with autism. Come on. You couldn't get a speech therapist. They couldn't get a speech therapist for my daughter over the summer because there's none. They're all booked, all of them. And we're going to have a lot more kids who have special needs in this country in the coming years. I promise you that. I don't know what we're going to do as a country when they grow up and we have no one to help them. So thank God for PA that they're at least taking the ball in the hands and trying to get these programs to employ our kids. But if people in the medical profession, the educational profession, if they don't start caring and seeing all people as having value, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. We're going to be in a lot of trouble as a society. If we can't help these people, you're going to see all kinds of horrible things going on. Institutionalization is going to go up. Crime's going to go up. Suicide's going to go up because these kids are not going to get help. They're just not. And no one cares. And on that positive note, I just wanted to share that. So if you're a praying sort, I would pray today for the parents of Charlie Gard, and pray for Charlie too. I don't know if I don't even know if he's alive right now, but and pray for the people at the hospital, that they can get over their own egos, that they couldn't help him, and they didn't want anyone else to. Pray that they can change and help other children with this condition and not make the same mistakes. And that's all. So I wish you a good day, and I think I'm going to come back on tomorrow and talk about health education, at least here in Pennsylvania. I wanted to talk a little bit about that. You know, this is a health and wellness page that I run here, and I try to focus primarily on that. So I thought it was really important to come out after my heart was broken yesterday reading Charlie Gard's, reading what his mom wrote to him and what she wrote about his disability. Hi, Kathleen. You think he's healthier than we're led to believe and that he can breathe on his own? Well, yeah, I hope so. I hope you're right on that. I hope he can breathe. I hope his brain is less damaged than they think, and I hope that he can get some help. I mean, I just never had a good feeling that this was going to come out positive from the beginning. But who knows? Oh, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much. I appreciate that very much. So if you liked my video, share with friends. Come back. I try to do it around the same time tomorrow, 11, unless something comes up that I can't avoid. And like I said, I want to talk tomorrow about, I've been putting this off for a little bit, about PA, the Pennsylvania health for 7th, 8th grade, 9th, 10th graders, the health curriculum, and some decisions we made about that, and why we made those decisions, and why you should be the one to talk to your children about health before anybody else does. Okay, that's it, guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.